what we attach to is our reality. And that, you can say that sounds woo-woo. And you can say, no, Meg, look at my environment. This is reality. And I truly can stand firmly and say what we attach to beliefs-wise becomes our reality. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, affirmations. Again, my practice is chanting. So I chant Nam Myoho Renge.
Hi, I'm Zach Newmark, and this is Dam Yankee. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts for all the best interviews with the coolest performers based here in the Netherlands and those traveling through the country. Today, sitting to my left is improv musical comic and California native Meg Buzza. She's a very funny, very talented actress who is trained in modern, hip-hop, and house dance. And she was working with the Upright Citizens Brigade in Los Angeles when she walked away earlier this year to join Boom Chicago right here in Amsterdam. She's in that cast now. She's going to tell us about her one-woman show as well in a few minutes. Meg, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and sitting here with us.
Thank you for having me, Zach.
This is really lovely because also you've just told me you're workshopping a new show at Boom Chicago.
That's right. And we're talking fresh. This is a fresh delivery on this information. I had the pleasure of going to the Fringe in Edinburgh just back in August. And now I'm going to start workshopping a one-woman show at Boom Chicago, utilizing and abusing their space and their visibility to workshop a new show that's really going to explore comedically the chronic illness experience I had a few years ago. So,
okay, so now is this what you're talking about? Is this why you walked away from dance? Because you kind of left your dance career. You were working to be professional as a dancer at one point.
I was, yes.
And I know a couple of years ago you got sidelined by what you have described as a mystery illness, at least at that time. Mm-hmm. Is that what the show's about?
It isn't, but that definitely was an interesting component of going from, having once had a professional dance physical experience where my body can do anything to being bedridden for close to 2 years on and off. So that I don't know how much dance will definitely play into the story because of the physicality, but no, I had abandoned that dream before the illness happened. Yeah.
Okay, but so what is it that you're actually able to tell us about this show that's coming up?
Basically, the heart of the show, what I took away from my illness experience, there were a lot of things. A lot of things was, if I can't change my body, how do I change my relationship to my body? I had an eating disorder when I was younger. Oh, surprise, surprise, dancer. Oh, wow, wow, wow. But so going through that experience, a lot of women and men and non-binary people have issues with their relationship with their body. But I think that experience and then getting sick, and I was having all these insights of, holy shit, I'm just as angry at my body right now for being sick as I was for not looking the way I wanted it to look at one point. But when you're sick, you have a boot on your neck and you can't do anything. You can't snap your fingers and feel better. So I went, okay, well, if I can't change my body and how it feels, what can I change? My relationship to it. So there's a lot of that. And then there's a lot of just stop healing and start playing was kind of the big nugget that I came out where I found that when you become obsessed with healing and trying to get better, it actually can fuck you up. Like it can keep you, it was keeping me sicker longer, I experienced for myself. And when I finally went, screw this, I'm not going to be embroiled in this illness anymore. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to say I'm sick. I'm not going to keep putting it on doctors and things. I'm going to cultivate what joy I can with what like physical capacity I have. So if I'm bedridden today, how do I get curious? Like, what's something I can do today that will bring me some pleasure, that will create some connection, that will create some value? So that doesn't sound funny inherently, but man, were there some ridiculous things that came out of that experience, like selling a foot pick to sell my rent. Yes.
I mean, the sense of humor aspect that you're talking about, it's so important. It's, it's something that's affected my own family as well. A close family member of mine was in a coma for 3 months. My father, back 45 years ago, came out of it mostly paralyzed on his left side.
Oh my God.
And, back in 1980, it was very unlikely that he would survive. And he's still alive now, and definitely attributes. I mean, I know that there were periods that he was angry about what happened, of course, or frustrated about what happened. And I know that comes up from time to time, but will always be the first one to say that it's a sense of humor or an ability to joke about a situation that has made the difference for him.
Totally. Yeah, you walk this fine line of acknowledging that your life has changed and that you're suffering with something, and not letting it be your identity and not be the all-consuming everyday narrative of like, no, I'm Meg, whose body is working hard to try and fix this illness, but that's not what I'm going to let be my everyday identity. And also it's an opportunity to cultivate a new way of being in the world. That was actually, I started having breakthroughs with my comedy. When I was able to somewhat get back to being on my feet, moving out of my parents' house at 31, 32, and getting back to LA to try and get my toes back into my musical improv. As a dancer, I'd always been very physical with my comedy and big, and I always, I felt that I wasn't satisfied with my mind. That doesn't sound quite, what am I trying to say? I wanted to be one of those really, really smart talky comics, but I was a very physical comic. And because physically I couldn't stand for long periods of time, I pretty much had to sit. I couldn't get my heart rate over 110. So I signed up for a musical improv intensive, and I told the teacher, like, I'm struggling with an illness. I'm going to have to sit. But it gave me this beautiful new way of approaching comedy and improv where I had to sit there and be slower and listen more and create new characters from a seated position. And it was like, it was this beautiful exploration of limitations giving birth to a new creative experience.
I mean, how long did it take you to actually get to that point? Because maybe it's even worth taking a few steps back, because this mystery illness that you had to contend with came up kind of at the tail end of the coronavirus pandemic.
Correct.
Have you ever gotten to a point where you actually figured out what it was that sidelined you?
Yeah, that's pretty much across the board. Every Western and alternative doctor I've talked to, everyone's saying this was a long COVID and potential like vaccine injury situation, because it fits the bill for long COVID. And unfortunately, the first year I had it, there was no information yet on long COVID. And now there's a lot, and they're showing that thousands and thousands and thousands of people around the world are living with this experience of one day waking up and not being able to get out of bed, not being able to breathe, having pain, having just a lot of things where they are completely incapacitated. So yes, it did come out of, we were maybe 6 months out of lockdown. And then I got...
and just to be clear, in California, I mean, the lockdowns were going on way longer than here in the Netherlands. So we're talking like, what year, 2002?
So
3?
I got sick in, June of 2022.
Okay.
Was the month that I woke up incapacitated.
You just woke up?
Yeah. It was, I felt maybe in April and May that I was really struggling with my energy levels no matter what I did. And I eat well, I'm always very active. But I was just feeling so worn down, like I could not get my system moving. And then I woke up one day and I couldn't walk. My then partner had to try and walk me to the bathroom. I couldn't breathe, and I went to the emergency room, and nothing was wrong with me. All my blood levels were great. Everything looked good. The only thing that she did was a orthostatic hypotension test where they have you lay down. And then very quickly you stand up and they see what your heart's doing. And that was off the charts. But other than that, she was going, I just go home, rest. And then that turned into 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks of couldn't walk, couldn't breathe, excruciating chest pain, and nobody knowing what's going on.
I'm so stunned by it, because I know so many people who were seriously affected at one point or another. I do know people who have had long COVID, but this is quite a different story. I mean, you know, you're talking 8 weeks being in, you know, deep physical pain. What was the point where you were actually able to start, you know, increasing what you were doing sort of gradually, I imagine?
Yeah, I left that relationship, which I thought was going to be the cure. I was like, oh my God, it's just my nervous system. And everyone's telling women that like chronic illness is just not stating your needs. And oh my God, if I state my needs with this person, I'm going to be better. And so I broke up with them. And I was like, nah, your girl's still sick. She's still sick as hell. And I was like, damn it. The girlies were wrong. So I moved home with my parents and I tried every alternative treatment you could think of. And I lived with them for a long time.
It's what everybody in their early 30s likes to do. Is
oh,
move back in with your parents.
What a sexy moment to just be like, here I am again, guys. We're doing great. That was rough. And, you know, God, I can't imagine how hard it was on my parents to be dealing with that too. But so I eventually had enough. Like, I can walk to the end of the street. I can feed myself and cook. I kind of got those things under my belt. And so I did move back to LA in like March of 2023. But, and I had a wonderful friend and roommate who was ride or die, like a little house nurse for me. She really took care of me. But moving back to LA, it still was months at a time where I was pretty bedridden.
And is it still something that's affecting you now? It's
not. And it's fucking insane. And I'm not going to lie and say there isn't this little fear twinkle in the back of my brain that goes, it could happen at any second. If you ride that bike too hard. When I first got here, I got an e-bike because I was like, your girl's going to trigger an episode if she's riding her bike home from boom shows at 1 a.m. But I have not had any crashes since like early summer last year.
And you moved out here in March, so that you're talking like 8 months. Yeah,
8 months and I have to be diligent. You know, I can't drink. I have to just really be thoughtful about my energy levels and things like that. But yeah, man, it's crazy. I was just talking to my boss at Boom the other week. I was like, dude, I stand outside of Boom Chicago before I go in for a show, and I still look up at it and have these awe moments of, I never thought I would get out of bed. I never thought I would get better. And now I'm a full-time comedian in Amsterdam. Like, it's just insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
It's insane.
There's no way. Because you were telling me before you started, you'd never lived outside of the U.S. except for a 1-year study abroad in Italy. But had you even visited Amsterdam before? I had done a 1 or 3 day visit. My god sister, she lives in Haarlem, just outside of Amsterdam. She's been here for 4 years. And she's been, of course, banging on me to come out and visit. And then, of course, the illness, I couldn't. So me visiting last August was my first time. It was a huge step. It was, oh my God, I'm going to get on an airplane. And I'm terrified that I can even get on an airplane after this illness. It was your first flight. It was my first flight. Yeah. It was all crazy. I'm like, I'm going to leave my house for more than a couple days. I'm going to get on an airplane. I'm going to go to Europe. And she took me to Boom Chicago and we saw the show. And I saw it and I said, that's for me. That's what I'm going to do. So did you even know what Boom Chicago was at that point? I had been connected with an alum in January of last year. And it was funny because a mutual friend of ours in LA, an improv comedian, he kept saying to me, Meg, you got to meet this guy, Dan Oster. He's also had a chronic illness, chronic pain experience. And I was like, I don't want to fucking talk about illness. I was like, I don't want to meet up with this guy and talk about my stuff. And I avoided him for months. I was just like, yeah, we can get coffee. It kept pushing him off. And then finally one morning, I remember, and I had chanted that morning because I practice Buddhism. And I had chanted that morning to just open something up. I was like, let me open something up new today. And he texted me again, let's grab coffee. It was right near my musical improv rehearsal. I was like, screw it. I'll go meet up with this guy. So we meet up and one of the second things out of his mouth, he says, well, I did a stint of improv in Amsterdam. And I, what? Yeah. And he said, yeah, Boom Chicago. I said, what's Boom Chicago? He's like, Meg, do not tell people you don't know what that is. As an improv comedian, like, you need to know what that is.
And it blew my mind because the big thing of, well, I want to maybe live abroad at some point, but how do I continue to do what I love? Felt impossible. And then all of a sudden I find out that one of the most long-running, prestigious improv comedy theaters in the world is in frickin' Amsterdam on the Rozengracht, which I'm still trying to figure out how to say.
Lovely.
Gracht. We're getting there. But yeah, so it was really fast.
How was it that I know some performers get invited just straight up to join the cast.
Most, Zach.
But then, others actually have to go through a proper audition process.
Correct.
And aren't necessarily invited out just based on, someone who had worked with a comedian before. Right?
Sure, yeah.
So what was your process of actually, getting into Boom Chicago?
Bullying my way in like I've done for everything. No, it is the joke that I'm definitely like kicking a door kind of person. Yes, the other new cast members were, like hand selected out of Second City and IO, those kinds of places in Chicago. No, I literally, I started stalking one of the cast members who's no longer here on Instagram and was just like sending her DMs going, girl, what's the deal? How do I get my foot in the door? And after the show in August, I said to Stacy, she's now the Academy director. But I said to her after the show back in August, I said, hi, I would like to be considered for the auditions. And she literally put her hand up and went, and Stacey is lovely. She's really lovely. But she put her hand up and she goes, we're not looking for new people. And I said, okay, challenge accepted. And when I got back to LA, I pinged her like once a month, just saying, hey, touching base, if I were to come out and just visit my sister, could I drop in? I just kept trying to push on and see what her reaction would be. And then on November 18th last year, I just sent a Hail Mary email that was just stacked. I said, this is who I am. This is my mission. This is what I'm about. These are my materials. I want to be considered for this job. And she emailed me back within hours saying, well, we have 3 spots opening up.
Amazing.
I'm passing this on to the director.
We have 3 spots opening up and we're looking for somebody with disability.
Yeah, literally like, oh, do you need to hit a quota? Okay. Yeah, but I did talk about my illness experience and a little bit, and she resonated with that. And yeah, I'm finding more and more that I share that a lot of people are touched by illness, chronic illness. And something I heard once that was really interesting is that disability is the only minority that anyone can join at any time.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which I thought was really profound. It's a group that you can join at any time. And I don't want to inappropriately cast myself in that group because I am fully functioning and healthy in this moment, but I had a disabled experience. And that was very, life-changing.
So what I'm also kind of wondering is you had, this period from 2022 to now. So we're talking 3.5 years, basically.
Sounds so short when you say it like that, Zach.
I know, right? That's kind of what
wild.
I'm getting at, because I would say there are some people who will go into a longer period of pity or self-pity, or a longer period of, I'm just accepting that this is my lot in life now, and I have to work, doing one job or another that I don't like, that I can do behind a computer from my home.
Right.
You seem to not have taken that approach. You seem to have actually, aside from working on your recovery, like you said, you had to kind of kick the door in and push your way in to kind of make this job in Amsterdam happen for you. Do you not reflect on that taking a lot of strength and resolve to kind of do that? Because those are a lot of things to impact you in, like you said, a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, it's amazing when you're in it how interminable it feels. And then, once you're on the other side, and I feel like most people can probably relate to that the really painful moments in life, they feel never ending. And then you look back and it's a weird, distant dream of, and that's why people have second children. That's why women go through that birth experience again. I really attribute most of my resilience to my Buddhist practice and the philosophy of Nichiren Buddhism that I've studied intensely for over 10 years now. And I practice with the Soka Gakkai, and the whole philosophy in that practice is never give up. Mm-hmm. It's unlimited outcomes. It's everything starts with me. It's this moment forward. It's unhappy. What's the quote? A quote that I pretty much lived by was that, is illness the cause of unhappiness? Mm-hmm. No, it's being defeated by illness. That's a cause of unhappiness. And so I had to really just tether myself to these tenets and philosophies to survive this experience. And oh my God, were there really bad days. I mean, suicidal depression, which is something I've talked about with other people in chronic illness experiences, it's a very natural place to go where you're like, I've been sick for a year. Is this my life? Is this what it's going to be? I don't want to do it anymore. And I think I reached a crucial moment where I really, really was deeply considering, like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And I woke up the next morning and I chanted in front of my Gohonsun, which is a reflection of your highest life condition, your highest life potential. And I was looking at my Gohonsun and I was like, girl, you got to make a decision. Either you're going to die or you're going to live. And it sounds simplified and reduced, but it was so intensely clear that I'm going to sit here and feel sorry for myself and think about I don't want to live anymore and all this stuff, which is so valid. And I don't want to invalidate people that have reached that point of misery. But I realized in myself, I have to make a decision. And Daisaku Ikeda, who is a Buddhist philosopher, he wrote a whole book called Hope is a Decision. Everything's a decision. And that's something I'm hoping to weave into my show as well, this message. And in that moment, I decided, I was like, I'm going to live. And I don't know what that looks like, but I'm going to live and I'm going to redecide that every morning. I'm going to decide again. Because even after I made that decision, there were so many fucked up days where I was just miserable and hopeless. But then I'd get up the next day and I would decide again. I'm going to frickin' find the way forward. And I had to let go of what I thought that was going to look like. I had to let go of maybe I won't be on Broadway. Maybe I won't have an entertainment career. Maybe I won't get to have these things. But I am damn determined that I'm going to find a way to live in a way that's meaningful. And it just slowly, inch by inch, started to manifest itself. And I also had amazing support around me. But really, it was having support around me, but we weren't getting into the nitty gritty of, oh, this is so hard. It was having people around me to bring me joy, to cook fun things and watch silly movies. And at one point, my friend had her birthday party at Six Flags, and we got me a wheelchair so I could go. And I was in a wheelchair at Six Flags, the theme park, just giggling and having a good time with my friends. And sure, did I feel a little sad in that moment? Yeah, but I had to choose what to focus on. Mm-hmm. And I grew up a lot. I grew up a lot in that experience.
You do meditation and talk about it quite a bit. I'm wondering also if you practice sort of affirmation-based meditation, or if you work with affirmations in other ways. I know that's how some people kind of are often able to pull themselves into a better mindset, is by focusing on a few things.
Totally.
That have made them happy either that day, but not necessarily. There's the stand-up comedian, podcaster, Neil Brennan.
Okay.
Has talked about how, he keeps like an affirmation journal and he writes these down even a few times a day because that's also been very helpful for him to be less of a negative focused person. Is that something that's, in your life?
Oh, absolutely. Because what we attach to is our reality. And that you can say that sounds woo-woo, and you can say, no, Meg, look at my environment. This is reality. And I truly can stand firmly and say what we attach to beliefs-wise becomes our reality. And so, yes, affirmations. Again, my practice is chanting. So I chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo for a period of time in the morning and in the evening. And it's very decisive, you could say, meditation, prayer, affirmations, where you're making decisions. So I have my goals, I have my intentions, and I'm deciding, I will become absolutely healthy. Done deal. I will have an absolute victory in my health. I will have the career of my dreams, done deal. I will value myself. I will value others. I will show up with respect. I will, it's an affirmation in a way. And I rewrite them every day or every couple days because we lose steam. That's just what happens. But yeah, it is crucial. And that's something I took out of the illness experience was reading and just devouring every kind of thought, methodology, and practice out there. And the science shows it, and the anecdotal evidence shows it. There's too many examples to deny that we really do create what we believe, and people coming out of their illnesses and coming out of horrible shit because they decided, I'm going to find the way. I don't know the way yet, but I'm going to freaking find it. And that's me every day still, where I'm like, even little stuff, I'm like, how am I going to transform this situation at work? How am I going to transform this thing? First you decide what it's going to look like, or just decide you're going to have a victory, and then just keep freaking bang, 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 like hit it until it moves. What do they say? Why does rain dancing work? Because you keep dancing until it rains. Right. And that's sure, maybe Instagram meme worthy quote, but it's real.
Yeah. I think Abraham Lincoln said that.
Correct. Right? Yes. Yeah. Our founding queer father. Yeah. Hey girl.
But you said you started doing meditation about 10 or 12 years ago. What were you like before that?
What were you like? Just a fucking monster, dude. No, I really say if I didn't have this practice, I'd be such a monster. I actually grew up in the practice. We come from Quaker heritage in Pennsylvania. My mom so I went to Quaker meeting until I was maybe 3, very casually. And the Quakers are pretty Buddhist. They're pretty chill. They're like, God's in you, God's in me. We're all God. We're all equal. And the Buddhists are saying the same things.
Right.
We all have the Buddha. We're all equal. We're all here to help each other out and be in service of each other. But so my mom started chanting when I was about 3 or 4. So I grew up with this practice and these people and this philosophy around me. And then when I went to treatment for my eating disorder in 2013, one of the first things they told me, the therapy team, was you need to find spirituality. You need something to guide you. And I was like, I'm not doing God. I'm not doing that, which that's fine. Choose what you need to do for you. But at that moment, I reached back out to this Buddhist SGI community, and one of the first meetings I went to, a woman shared her experience of starting her own Buddhist practice, and she talked about overcoming an eating disorder. And I was like, okay, the signs are here. We're going to at least check this out. And it was also at that meeting where someone looked me in the eye and said, Meg, stop beating yourself up. Stop living in fear. It's this moment forward. All we got to do is start again from this moment forward. And that was it. I was off to the races with this philosophy. That's
amazing. It's, your mom comes out of Pennsylvania and this sort of Quaker heritage. Your dad's Italian?
Yeah, he's Italian-American heritage, West Coast kid.
Is he first generation born in America, or is he?
My grandma is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that sort of, tendency towards spirituality, is that also seen on your father's side of the family as well, or your dad?
No, they were not spiritual people for sure. None of the I think somehow they abandoned the Catholicism at Ellis Island. They were like, we're done. My dad is a very philosophical person. And from a very young age, he studied all of my dad would be, instead of reading me like a bedtime story, my dad as a 6-year-old would be giving me like Goethe quotes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and he would always have quotes posted up around his office and the house. And so philosophy and mental fortitude, these kinds of things were very present always in my life. Yeah.
Are you an only child? Do you have siblings?
I have a younger brother. He is a beefcake of a dude. He is a cowboy shoe. He is a shit kicker wearing, truck driving country boy. I'm from a fairly agricultural part of Northern California.
So around Santa Rosa, but they call it Bay Area, but it's about as far north of San Francisco
as you can get,
as you can call the Bay
as you
Area.
Can legally call the Bay Area. And Bay Area kids would always tell us, "You're not from the Bay Area." Right. We were always trying to claim it because I was at the time very, very enthusiastic about hip hop dance and break dancing. So we'd go into the Bay Area and do like competitions and stuff. and we were being choreographed and trained by the Jabberwockies before they were the Jabberwockies. They were just these rough and tumble hip hop dancers coming out of the Bay Area. Amazing guys. But yes, no, we were right at that bleeding line of Bay Area, but mostly where I grew up, I mean, we were out on a country road, a couple acres, a barn. It was pretty agricultural.
And your brother, would he kind of say the same thing about you, that your parents are, very philosophical? Did he get these quotes read to him as a kid, or did he kind of have like a different path?
It's pretty funny. I think he's he's also in his 30s, a business owner, becoming, a man in his own right. I think it's starting to manifest, but no, for the longest time, it was absolute like, no. He was pretty rogue, and he's also a very goofy guy. But so yeah, we say Namyo Horenge Kyo, and he would say Namyo Horenge no. Or we'd always talk about happiness, like happiness is the purpose of life. And every time we'd say happiness, he'd go, ha, penis. You say, Meg, do you know what happiness really means? Ha, penis. So no, he was not as philosophical.
Thank you for clarifying. So no.
So no is my long answer. Yeah.
Is he funny also? I mean, is he high energy like you are also?
I'm the tame one. I mean, my mother, Martha, is the East Coast reserved Quaker.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you weren't sure if she was Quaker or not, just, all you need to know is her name's Martha.
Martha?
Right.
Martha Head.
Yeah.
Head.
Okay.
Martha Head Buzza. But she is definitely that East Coast kind of, I'm going to slightly just stab you with a little side comment, and you go, oh, that was fucking funny, but you said it so quietly. I didn't know you were insulting me. But whereas my dad is just loud, bombastic, my brother is the same. He comes in just chest first, big energy, big fun.
Are you sort of in the middle of your parents in terms of, I mean, you come in, you have crazy amounts of energy as well, but I kind of get the idea that, if there's a quiet moment and you're ready for, a sharp-worded comment, that you can probably pull one up pretty fast.
Yeah, I do. I feel like a bit of a cocktail of my parents.
Yeah.
And I think I more associated with my father growing up because I did feel like I was very loud and crazy. And then the illness showed me that I'm actually a little bit more like my mom than I thought. And I do like to be a little bit more quiet and pensive, and I do like to be slower than I thought. And then maybe that's also just some of the reconditioning I did around capitalism and productivity and self-worth and value, where you don't have to be going 100 miles an hour all the time to be worthwhile. You can rest and sleep and still be worthy of people's love and attention.
Also, I mean, just such an American thing
It's
to
so,
grow up with, right?
Yeah.
To have that feeling is such an American thing too.
Yeah, we're deconditioning. Might be a lifelong thing, but we're doing it.
When would you describe it kind of as a loud household?
I didn't know it was until I brought a boyfriend home who was a single child from an off-grid farm family in Vermont, where when I visited them, they didn't say a word. Everyone just reads quietly and listen to the trees and like don't make any noise. And I remember bringing him
Dave Brubeck playing in the background.
Absolutely. And bringing him home. And I remember at one point it was Christmas or something, and there were even more family members in the house. And at one point he put his hand on my leg and he said, I'm going to go take a break. And I was like, from what? He goes, from this. And I went upstairs to check on him. I'm like, what? Did something happen? He goes, no, it's just chaos. I was like, is it? So I didn't realize that I had a loud family until that moment. Yeah.
And then, when you fell ill in 2022 and, a few months later, you're back in your family's house in Northern California instead of LA.
Yes.
I'm wondering, were you kind of wanting the quiet, but you were in a loud house at that point? Was there some sort of...
It was a little quieter. I mean, when it's just my parents and they're just futzing around living their lives, it's not as loud.
Okay.
It's more the everyone together, my brother, holiday chaos. Yeah. It was actually depressingly quiet when I was living there alone, because, my dad's at work all day. My mom was working from home. But it was just me alone in this country house, just kind of staring at the trees going, okay, okay, girl, what are we doing? Yeah.
Now, you've got this sense of humor, though. And if you're describing yourself like a mix of your parents, does your humor also come from both of your parents? Do you share comedic influence?
Yes, definitely. My dad, we didn't have TV growing up. My parents were pretty granola, hippie. Like, I went to a Waldorf style farm school. Everything was very organic. And so
before it was hip.
Before it was hip
to go to a Waldorf school.
We were the original crusty California kids. Yes, it was very, very natural upbringing. So we didn't have cable and TV and stuff like that. But my dad had all of the Monty Python DVDs. And so I watched a ton of Monty Python growing up, pretty religiously and consistently, because that was one of the few things. That and musicals. I was allowed to watch musicals all I wanted. The old Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly, pretty much all the black and white, all the originals. And so those were actually my only two first media influences, Monty Python and musicals. And then we look at me now and I'm a musical improv comedian. It's like, well, was it conditioning, nature versus nurture? And my mom, very deadpan East Coast humor, kind of dark. She'll say some like fucked up shit and you're like, that was really morbid, Mom, but it's funny. It's like, she has no trouble talking about mortality and things like that. And so, I very much can now, as I'm saying it to you, Zach, I'm now going, yes, that is exactly my comedic style.
We've thought about having a couch in here for people to lay down on when they have the breakthrough.
Yeah. Cheaper than therapy, my man.
Right?
Thank you.
I'm assuming you were about 18 when you moved to LA to start studying at Loyola.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you studied dance there.
I did. I'd made the solid life move of getting a degree in dance. With supportive parents. If you don't think your parents love you, just look at the degree they let you get. My parents love me.
Right. Did they ever kind of hesitate or, try to convince you to go towards something that maybe would be more likely to build a profession off of?
They didn't, which I didn't know the value of until recently. But, they never pressured. My dad's a dental oral surgeon. My mom, she worked in law. I come out of a long line of lawyers and medical practitioners and judges. Yeah, just very, very white collar. But no, they were always very supportive of me pursuing the arts. And they had a lot of faith. But I also... I was a straight A student. I was captain of the varsity swim team. I always was very, very militant and driven. And I think they knew I was going to figure it out no matter what.
And so at what point was it that you actually started looking more towards improv comedy?
I was living in New York and I would mouth off a lot in dance classes and rehearsals. And I was really unfulfilled in that side of that art form where I loved dance so much. But I always felt a little brain dead. And I didn't know I felt brain dead. But I was very, very, always cracking jokes, keeping people's spirits up during rehearsals or whatever. And finally, I had a director, he was kind of an acting coach who was in a dance rehearsal giving some input. Nico Annan. I always get his name wrong, and I hate that because Nico. So Nico, who's now the star of P-Valley, which was a show in the States, but he basically said to me, you're pretty loud and you've got a lot to say. You should go take a comedy class. And in my mind, I'm like, a comedy class? They teach comedy? That was totally insane to me. I couldn't believe that. I thought people just did stand up and then somehow people just got onto SNL. I didn't know there was a path that you could follow. So I look up in New York, comedy class near me, and the Pit showed up. Yeah. Literally. And this was, I still felt very silly about it. What could this be? So I find the Pit in New York. I just go, I like to write, so I'll do a sketch 101 class. And I popped into Sketch 101, and I'm at the round table with all these other weird, kooky, fun people. Mm-hmm. And I was hooked. I just felt this profound sense of, oh my God, this is where this is where I was meant to be all along.
I just kind of love the naivete of like Googling comedy course near me.
Yes.
And finding a good one where just as easily you could have wound up in like a Jewish community center basement being taught by, a rabbi on his day off.
And I honestly wish it had been that, because that would have been gold for this whole experience. But no, it was wild. And I loved it so much. And then someone told me about the UCB. Mm-hmm. I took a UCB 101 and again was like, oh my God, I found my tribe. Then they took me to see Rumpelteazer, which was the big musical improv headliner show at the time at UCB in New York. I thought it was a magic show. I couldn't comprehend how they did a full narrative musical made up on the spot. It blew my brain in so many ways. I remember I went home and sat down and just stared at the wall like, that's what I want to do. I have to do that. I have to figure out how to do that. And then it took 8 years of taking one comedy class every 6 months to a year. It was so inconsistent. I really didn't think I would pursue it, but.
I mean, you were in New York auditioning for dance productions at that time. So what was it that brought you from New York back to Los Angeles?
It was not planned. My family's home burned down in the Tubbs fires in 2017. And so I made the decision to go back to NorCal and try and just be with them. And my brother was living at home at the time. So all three of them were displaced. And I spent about 6 months just being with them, trying to support. And I also think I just needed a break from the New York grind. Mm-hmm. But then I had started working in film production as a PA just to pay the bills in New York, and made a connection with a film production company. And then they hired me in LA to do like a little travel TV show. And so then it just kind of plopped me back into LA working in film production. And when I got back, I said, well, let me just try another whack at this improv thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that brought you eventually to actually appearing on stage regularly with Upright Citizens Brigade, right?
Yeah, I was really passionate about musical improv, and it was my greatest joy, and it really was the thing that I attached to come out of my illness. I couldn't think of anything else I wanted to do. So I just thought, if I can at least get back and be doing that, that would be purposeful for me. That would bring me some joy. And I still was being half in, half out about it, because I was judging myself. Like, are you going to really go and pursue another freaking art form? You gave your whole life to dance. Dance didn't work out. And don't do this to yourself again. Like, don't do this. That was what was holding me back. And then last January, again, I made a freaking decision, Zach. I was like, decide, girl, either do it or don't do it, but you have to make a decision. And I just decided I'm going to go all in on this musical improv stuff, and I just want to see what happens. And from that moment, within 1 calendar year, I went from completing all of my studies and coursework at UCB to then getting on a UCB musical improv team, to then getting the offer from Boom Chicago, to then like moving to Europe.
That's insane.
It all happened so fast.
Yeah.
But then also did it, how many years are behind that? But truly it was, I decided and everything just moved.
What would you have done
otherwise?
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, I'd still be...
I have a hard time seeing you sitting in an office.
And again, I think a lot of people, I mean, you're in news, so you're not in a full-on like corporate environment. You still have a creative component to what you do.
Yeah, I can't sit in offices.
No, and I used to judge myself for that. And I've talked to a lot of people, not just creatives, but people that feel that way. Oh, I should be able to just suck it up and do a 9 to 5 and sit there. But for most of human history, we haven't been doing that. That's a very recent phenomena that we sit in an office and stare at a screen. It's not human. It's not right for our physiology.
Right.
So the fact that we're miserable and then we judge that we're miserable, it's like, of course we should be outside under the sun, talking to people and building things together.
And telling them about murders and armed robberies and political corruption.
100%. Nailed it. So I really judged myself like, and especially because I do come out of a very cerebral household, and again, a white collar lineage where I felt, well, I'm only legitimate if I become like a successful producer in film and I'm towing the line and doing something that's measurable and responsible. And I was just fucking miserable. I couldn't do it. And I did the push and pull on that for all my 20s. And then I finally, again, the illness gave me this beautiful opportunity to let that go and say, nothing means anything. Nothing is real. Nothing is real. Like, it's all made up. So what do I want to make up? And how about I stop judging myself for not meeting a mark that doesn't exist that somebody else made up? Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
When you found out from Stacy that there were 3 openings here to join the cast, who were the other cast members that joined with you?
I joined with Laura Maynard and Deshaun Mason, who are so beautiful, wonderful people, so talented.
Deshaun's very funny. Laura, I haven't met yet, but she's also from my hometown because I know she's from Chicago as well. So you joined with them. Did you have to audition?
I did not.
So Stacy just said, come out, join us. We love what you're doing.
I was out here for Christmas visiting my sister. Again, I just kept pushing on the door. Hi, I'm here. Would love to talk. I'm here. And literally on December 29th, I get a text from Stacy saying, hey, Meg, the owners would be happy to meet you for lunch if you can get into the city by like 1 p.m. And I hopped in the car, had lunch, and again was just like, I'm your girl.
Right.
What are you looking for in a cast member? I'm that. I'm going to do everything I can to be successful. I'm going to make you guys successful, and it's going to be a great time. And they were like, great. Let's do it. Yeah.
And so now you've been living out here since March.
About
in
7.5 months. Yeah.
And what's your take on Amsterdam?
It's a wild city. My American brain breaks a little bit all the time. One of the first things, not to be heavy, was safety. Biking home at night or just being on the streets, I'm not getting harassed. I am actually safe to go home by myself. That was a huge shift. And it feels like a big college town. It feels like with everyone riding their bikes around and everything, right, and just being so mobile.
Yeah, and it's a big city for the Netherlands, but it's like 900,000 people.
It's
live
little.
in the city. It's
after living in New
large.
York.
Right.
Yeah, it's a little city. People said I was going to have a lot of issues with the Dutch being very cold and direct, and that Dutch audiences were going to be hard to win over, but that's not been my experience. I've had a lot of fun.
That's interesting because that's very different. A lot of people come here and say, that the audiences they get are very reserved. One of your colleagues, Matt Castelvi, describes it, that people sitting in silence, arms folded, and then they come up to you afterwards at the bar to say how great you did.
Yes. Like, oh, so funny. So funny. And you're like, was it Heist? Because you didn't laugh once, dude. No, there's been maybe 1 or 2 shows where the audience was definitely fully Dutch and it was quieter. But I don't know. I think we're good at what we do, and we have a lot of tricks to engage an audience, because our improv and our comedy speaks for itself, but you really learn with this job. This job is really learning how to manage an audience. And that's been most of my education here, is not just the improv, which of course I'm getting better just being around amazing improvisers and doing the reps, but it's been very much about having endurance to do this many shows, how to deal with shitty audience, quiet audience, rowdy audience, whatever it is. That's been a big part of the education.
What do you do to pull more of a reaction out of a quiet audience?
That is a very good question.
Well, I mean,
we're still working on.
In the States, I don't know if it's still like this in the States, but you used to have drink minimums, and so already, especially, my generation, I would say, the older people, you would have the alcohol would be flowing early. I know younger people don't necessarily drink as much alcohol, so maybe it's a little different now. But what are you doing yourself, and what do you guys do at Boom to actually get people to kind of loosen up a little?
Well, a big part is just getting people physically moving in their bodies. That's a huge part. So sometimes just in the intro, we're getting people to stand up or move around, which is a hosting tactic that most hosts will use. getting people to shout things out early. So we'll say, we're going to get you warmed up to be shouting out suggestions throughout the show. So on the count of 3, please shout out your first name, 1, 2, 3, and just getting the audience vocal early on and cheering a lot and just getting their physical energy moving lubricates the audience into the show. And then they will be more vocal. And then I've also learned, I used to think I need to be a little bit more like, hey, ha, big and fun, see? And no, it's like they're human beings. They're human beings en masse, but they're human beings and we're still making a connection with human beings. So it's maybe I need to slow down actually and actually like start making eye contact with people and smiling at them individually and getting physically closer to them and actually maybe even talking to them a little bit, or I'll do a little finger gun and wink at someone who maybe laughed at something. And it's creating these little moments. And Deshaun Mason is really a master at this, of connecting with an audience in these ways. But yeah, it's at the end of the day, we're all human beings and they want to connect too. It's not about us just vomiting comedy at them. Like, look how good our show is. Ma! No, that's not what this is. It's a dialogue between us. And so like bring them into the conversation so that they feel like they're a part of it, and then they will be more active in the show. Do you,
I mean, you've been on stage off and on for 15 years. Do you have a worst heckle? You know, was that something that happened here, or a bomb that happened here, or something before that?
Worst heckle. I mean, we do a late night show called Shot of Improv, which is actually coming back on Thursdays at 10:15. It's a very fun show, but we give out shots of Jägermeister for good suggestions, which kicks us in the butt every time because people just get so drunk. And it's funny, we also have an academy where we teach improv and comedy. And it's amazing how beginners and audience members, everyone thinks that the gnarliest thing is the funniest thing. So dildo, Trump, they yell out these things because they think that they're shocking and therefore going to be the funniest thing. It's the opposite. It's like, it's the honest stuff. It's the everyday stuff that people share that is so funny. But so you're having to field a lot of people saying dumb stuff. And also oftentimes young drunk men, and we have to kind of baby them, and that's something that we take care of. But yeah, usually my favorite demographic for our shows is boomers. Like really, people in their 60s and 70s that will come and they sit in the front row because they're conditioned to actually be at the theater and not be on their phone. They come and they sit in the front row and they're so engaged. And they're having such a good time, and they give good suggestions because they're not trying to be shocking. Like, I love them. I'm always calling them like mom and dad every time they're up front. I'm like, hey, dad, good to see you. All right, let's do this. Like, they're my favorite demographic. They're so fun.
How long do you picture yourself actually staying in Amsterdam and keeping on with this?
Oh, man.
Is this a forever move for you, do you think?
That's one of those post-pandemic things where I feel like millennials, we have all realized that we don't know what a 5-year plan is, and we can't have a 5-year plan because the world can turn off tomorrow. So yeah. I'm very much I've become a more right now kind of person. So of course I have further comedic and career goals, but yeah, I'm going to probably be here for at least another 17 months and do a second year. So in that time, that's where you can find me.
I mean, but could you see yourself living here longer than that? Or do you see yourself maybe winding up in other places?
I do think I could build a life here, which has actually been surprising for me. When I talk to other expats, there is a deconditioning of the American dream where I really didn't even know how deep it was in me that America's the best and it's the safest place to live and it has the most opportunity and best. And then you come here and you don't realize that there are places in Spain that look like Jurassic Park, and that there are, you're a 1-hour flight to Africa and you're just in the middle of so much, and there's less rules and there's less, I don't know, there's more freedom. Ironically, I feel freer in this country in a lot of ways. And your eyes are going,
my eyes are going, lived here 20 years. I know what you're going through.
Yeah. I feel healthier here. I feel more sane here. I feel more creatively free away from the LA industry, which is so like produce, be relevant, be hip, be online, be all these things. And I feel like I'm back into a space where I can just breathe and be an artist. And people here aren't trying to compete to get on TV shows and be something in LA. So there's not a competition environment. People just want to come to improv shows to laugh, and they want to take an improv class to make new friends. And no one gives a shit about celebrities here. It's so different. And I feel like I'm breathing differently here. And of course, my god sister, who's truly my sister, is, in Harlem and
15 minutes away.
15 minutes away. Yeah, I'm really surprised. I thought I would come out here, have a blast, go back. Because California, it's God's country. Northern California, hard to compete with that. And now I'm in Europe going, oh boy.
Would your parents, would they be surprised to hear this?
No.
That you kind of could see yourself staying here?
No. They've traveled a lot, and they always wanted both my brother and I to experience the world and be in the world. So they've been pretty ecstatic this whole time. I wouldn't be surprised if I put down roots here permanently that they would make their way over. Yeah, I would not be surprised.
And, we were talking about, where you might wind up, but also with this one-woman show you're doing, have you given it a title yet?
So I had a maybe 10 episode podcast about my illness journey that I called Chronic. People, wink, wink, think it's probably about pot, marijuana, which is, part of the hook on it. But that feels to me like right now the living title for it, Chronic, especially because the podcast was chronic is not just illness. Lots of things can be chronic. Lots of things in your life that are difficult can feel chronic. And so it's an exploration of all those things. So that's where she's living right now.
And do you have a long-term goal with that show?
Yes. The submission deadline for the Edinburgh Fringe is April 9th, 2026. So we are in the shoot. We are in the process.
So that's the goal, is to bring it there.
Yes.
Are you also thinking about touring it? Or is it too early
to
talk about that?
We'll see if I'm bred like that. I look at comedians. I just saw Jordan Jensen was at Boom just the other night, and she's touring Europe right now by herself. I look at touring stand-up comics, and I go, I don't know how they do it. To do the solo thing, I've always been an ensemble comedian, so this is a huge stretch for me to do a solo work. But if it's what the people want, I'll get my cookies on the road. I'll do my best.
But, and also you were talking about, as opposed to being in LA where you have to kind of put yourself out there constantly and constantly have a presence and build a presence. It's kind of the same in stand-up and touring where, I've talked to one comedian after another who feels like they got into it for the comedy. They didn't get into it to be a social media manager.
Totally.
And it's, a really important aspect for some of these comedians to drive their ticket sales.
Yes.
I don't know if that affects maybe your desire to do a tour.
Yes, that is looming. That is a looming thing that I don't want to look at. I tried to do that social media thing, especially when I was sick. I was using it as a tool to keep momentum, to stay connected, but woof, it kills me. But again, unlimited possibilities. I'm going, who could I hire to do that for me?
Yeah.
I don't have the capacity. I connect best with people in person, and that social media stuff makes me sick. And I know that there are certain things you have to do for your work, but I also am still living in the world of, okay, but there's got to be a way that I can not have to do it.
Right.
So if you're looking to be my social media manager, call me.
And that's also, I'm sure has something to do with you as a business owner, because you also do these one-on-one coaching sessions as well. How is it drumming up business for that? You're only here for 7.5 months, as you said. So what's this life like, balancing the comedy and the coaching?
Yeah, I do feel very invigorated by the coaching, because I do feel that I'm able to take all of what I've studied and worked on and cultivated and honed as not just a freelancer, but as a creative, someone who has worked corporate production, someone who's been through an illness experience, someone who has deeply studied Buddhism and mindset techniques and sports psychology, and take all of this and offer it to people. And, they often say when you create a product or you create a coaching model, you're creating the thing for that version of you that needed it. So it's been really beautiful. I've worked almost exclusively with women, and most exclusively with freelancers, but also some in corporate and non-creatives. But it's very, very fulfilling to get to help people create breakthroughs.
Would you call it life coaching, or is it some other form of coaching?
I would consider it more to be like mental fortitude coaching, but yes, so that people understand it. Yeah, life and career coaching, where it's a one-on-one, and I'm getting you from point A to point breakthrough.
Right.
Yes.
Do you do this only in person, or do you also do it sort of video calls?
This is actually just virtually.
Okay.
And I've actually found it to be extremely effective to be virtual, because that way I'm able to be interactive with worksheets and tools, and then people can fit it into their life, because I'm not trying to add another stressor onto someone's already really busy life, which is everyone I work with. They're already doing 800 things. They're already crushing it, but they don't need more. So I'm trying to, and I'm successfully helping them be more effective with less effort. And so yes, the Zoom approach, it's working.
How long have you been doing this?
I started coaching about 1.5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, again, I'm just shocked by the last 3 years of your life.
Me too, Zach. Me too. Oy, yeah.
So, with the illness that you had, and then transitioning, into a full-time comedic performer, how did the illness itself kind of affect your comedy? What was it like before versus after?
That's a good question, because I actually don't think I considered myself a comedian before the illness. I think I was still just a ex-dancer working in film production, taking improv classes, and really had no identity as a comedian.
Amazing. That's interesting.
And so after the illness, and then deciding to go after full bore improv comedy, I'm telling you what, I think that I've actually just been developing who I am as a comedian at this job. I think even at UCB, I was still pretty fresh and still just getting my reps in. And I even said in one of my first pre-show huddles that people are asking, well, what's your goal for this time on this team? And I had said, I want to find out who I am as a comedian and what's my voice. But then got snatched up by Boom Chicago pretty quickly after that. So I feel like here at Boom, I am actually, for the first time, figuring out what my comedic voice is.
And, this comedic voice of yours, what is it? And has it gotten you anywhere with the current show that you guys are doing?
I would say I have more of a comedic body. I'm a very, very physical comedian. I, of course, have a lot of musical components to my comedy when I do musical improv. And again, I think I'm still honing what my voice is. I do a lot of male characters, and they're very commentary driven. So I think I definitely tend to comment, I think because of that, on the differences between the male or female experience. And I can be raunchy, but I also am really exploring what it means to be a little bit more heartfelt and saying what I actually think about things. And that's been a really fun discovery in improv. Oh, I can say how I think and feel through this character.
Right.
And then it actually has a lot to say, and that's very fun. But yeah, so on the raunchy front, one of our new show that's on Thursdays and Saturdays is called The Good, the Bad, and the Algorithm. It's a reboot of a previous show at Boom. Definitely, of course, has a little bit of a Western vibe, but the piece that I wrote that made its way into the show, we lovingly call it Algorithm Daddy, where I am an anthropomorphized algorithm. I am a dominatrix, because in my mind, I was thinking, how do I feel about the Instagram algorithm? To me, she feels like a dominatrix, because I feel a little held hostage sometimes by the algorithm, constantly just feeding me content, whether I like it or not. And I can stop whenever I want, but then I don't. And I keep going back to this dominatrix.
Right.
So that is...
It's like financial domination, or you've got your safe word, but you're never using your safe word.
Correct. So we do we get a safe word from the audience. And right now, Deshaun has been playing the man who is scrolling on his phone late at night. And yes, I come out as the algorithm dominatrix and pretty much, knock his ass around for about 5 minutes until I push him to the edge where he is forced to use the safe word.
What days do they do this show?
This is Thursdays and Saturdays right now at 8 p.m.
So for people who want to find your coaching work or want to find where you're performing, how do they track you down?
Yeah, absolutely. My coaching website is createbreakthroughs.com.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on social media, begrudgingly girls, at Mega Buzza, MEGABUZZA on Instagram. I have not TikToked. I couldn't.
Can't do it yet.
Shows my age that I'm fully a millennial and I can't TikTok.
I can't do the TikToks either.
I just can't do it, and that's okay. And I've accepted that about myself and my journey. And then I'm at Boom Chicago Wednesday through Sunday. You can go to www.boomchicago.nl, or if you're Dutch, www.boomchicago.nl. Chicago.nl. And we do improv shows 5 nights a week.
Excellent. Meg, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Zach.
It's been awesome. It's really nice having you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dam Yankee is produced in partnership with NL Times, the top choice for English language news from the Netherlands. Founded nearly 15 years ago, NL Times is now the #1 site for information about this country, featuring more news stories every day of the week than any other website. Keep tabs on the latest top stories, features, and breaking news from across the entire country, including the 3 big cities, Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and The Hague. So visit nltimes.nl now and find out what millions of people are reading about the Netherlands. Dam Yankee is an NL Times podcast. The show was created by me and Peach Rizzo, and this episode was produced and edited by Marcus Engel.